Avi, for that introduction. So I'll wait until my slides are on. But my name is Frank Asifua. I work with the Association of African Universities. We are a membership body of over 440 universities across the continent. And we have been doing all we can in order to be able to improve the quality of education on the continent. We are active in every country on the continent. Okay, all right. So my slides are up. Nice. Thank you, guys. Maybe you click in it. All right, great. Okay, so the vision of the AAU is to be the leading advocate for higher education within Africa, and this is one of the mandates we got from the African Union in order to be able to execute our activities on the continent. As I mentioned, we are an associative body of over 440 member universities across the continent. Now, we're part of the Coalition for Digital Africa, and the project we're running is Universal Acceptance. Yes, great. Okay. I'm going back. Okay, great. So these are the 5 main pillars that we came up with when we decided on the project, which is UA readiness and EAI readiness in academic institutions project. Now, the thought process was often when we're doing capacity building, we do it for the experts who are in the field in order to be able to execute the activities that we want. But often what happens is because of turnout or moving to various companies, this memory gets lost. So we thought the next available method would be to teach the next generation that is coming up in order to be able to immerse into these things that we want them to do, and that would make it easier for them to be able to embrace it, and then we'll see a significant growth over the future. It will not be a quick jump, like how if you're teaching an expert who is actually in the role to handle the activity, but we felt it would give us long-term benefits from that. So these are some of the objectives for the project. The first objective was to evaluate the member universities and see whether they were UA ready already. So when we say universal acceptance and UA ready, I think Bob mentioned a bit about it. June also mentioned a little bit about it. But it's basically anybody being able to reach out to either your website or your emails correctly. So if there is a person who lives in China, has a Chinese URL or email, if they send you an email, will it actually come through your website? Will it come through to your email? We evaluated a lot of institutions, and you see the statistics that many of them were not ready. So when you type it into the email box, it gives an error because it doesn't recognize the characters, because most of them are Latin, as we've also heard from Bob earlier in his detailed explanation. So the second thing we did was to create the awareness and offer support in order to develop capacity for member universities on how they can be UA ready themselves. Also, the third objective was to offer information to the higher education institutions so that they could institutionalize this process so that it does not become a one-off training or a training that we have to run over and over whenever there's churn out. So that was another objective that we had when we were building this project. Now, the fourth objective was to encourage higher education and research institutions to participate in the work of the USAID so that it will be helpful for all of us to be universally accepted. So front is back and back is front. Okay, great. So as June mentioned in her presentation, capacity building is a very important step that could help us in order to be able to bridge the gap. We noticed that globally, a lot of institutions or a lot of continents are higher in terms of their UA readiness as compared to our continent. So we felt it was important to speed up the process to be able to train experts on the field to be able to actually make ourselves UA ready. So we focused on 3 main areas to help with academia. And the first was with capacity, with technical workshops. We also felt that if the information regarding UA readiness is integrated into the curriculum, every computer science student that is coming out has a basic knowledge of this, and they can then implement it going into the future. And by that training, you are able to make sure that the next generation of software developers or computer scientists all have this idea in their mind, and whenever they are building, they are able to use this information in order to build systems that are UA ready. And the third thing was we organized webinars as well in order to be able to reach people who might not be able to be with us in person in order to be able to execute our goals for this project. So we held 3 workshops, technical workshops. We held one in Ghana, Namibia, and Morocco. And that's the statistics of how many people participated. The countries are the individual countries or various countries that were represented in that training. So we're able to have a group of ICT directors across the higher education institutions on the continent set up. So there's an active WhatsApp group. We have annual meetings. Last year we were in Morocco for the General Conference of the Association of African Universities. We also held some side pre-conference events as well as events during the conference as well in order to be able to further engage them. So that has also been another way by which we are able to institutionalize what we are doing with UA readiness in order to keep it in the minds of the directors of ICT that these are the things that are important and how they will be able to get support in order to be able to achieve them. So and then the next pillar was making sure that the curriculum of the institutions are integrated with UA readiness. Now, this was a very difficult challenge because, as you know, when you're trying to change your curriculum, it is very difficult because it usually goes to the regulatory bodies for them to evaluate, and sometimes in some countries, there's a specific percentage of change that you have to add in order to go through a whole process of evaluating your curriculum, which is sometimes very expensive and tedious for the universities. So we did a pilot with these universities. 3 of them were shortlisted, but Kabale University was the one that was able to move forward the most. We were able to have discussions with them. They were ready. And then we were supposed to do it over the break, but there was a little bit of a gap, difficulty, but we're still in negotiations, and hopefully we should be able to see that up and running as quickly as possible. Their process was expected to finalize in August 2025 so that the curriculum could be reviewed with the staff in order to be able to make the decision regarding it and integrate it into their curriculum. We also held webinars with deans of computer science students across Dean of Computer Science faculties in order to be able to help them with this UA readiness and how they can make their emails compliant as well. And these are the numbers that we got from them. We held 2 events, one for the Anglophone and one for the Francophone region. And these were we had around 280 participants in total for that training. And there were always technical support ready whenever a university wants to make the change on their system in order to be able to do so. So we saw that most universities run either Drupal or WordPress, and we're able to get experts in order to be able to support them to be able to make those changes. Okay, so one of the things that was a key outcome by working with the heads of computer science and then the technical team in the universities was that we were able to pilot the changes that were made in WordPress in order to be able to make them compliant. So what we did was, after we did that session with the universities, we actually created a report and we wrote back to WordPress that this is the challenge we are seeing, that most of their systems are not UA ready for the websites as well. So we wrote to them and we sent them that report with some of the universities that were able to successfully make their websites compliant. And WordPress wrote back that they would work on it in their upcoming updates in order to be able to make all WordPress websites out of the box UA ready. So we felt that was a very significant milestone because WordPress powers more than 35% of the internet, of websites on the internet. So if we are able to make this step and then all these websites are compliant, that means 35% of websites in the world would automatically be UA ready. And that's what we felt was a very significant milestone to be able to reach. So while we had the webinar with the institutions, we noticed that no two countries are the same. Every country, 54 countries are very unique, and each of them has their own guidelines with regards to curriculum and how they will be able to make changes, how many hours they would dedicate to the course, and even how to bring the lecturers on board themselves in order to be able to make this work. So these are some of the questions that were raised during the webinar with the Deans of Computer Science, and it was really helpful in order to be able to come to an agreement on what could be done in order to be able to make this important step forward. So, as I mentioned, one of the objectives was to assess the readiness of universities with regards to emails and then their websites, whether they were compliant to universal acceptance. And when we did the baseline study in 2023, October, these were the numbers we got. Out of the institutions that we evaluated, we got only 54 of them who had their websites compliant. That means that if you had a Chinese email address and you went onto their website, you would be able to put in that email address and it would accept it. We also saw with the emails that around 282 were compliant. We saw that most of them used services that had already done it out of the box. It was just a few of them that were running systems that needed support with that. But over the period, we then used that as a time to help the others in order to be able to increase their numbers. And as you see, as at May 2025, the numbers jumped drastically from what we had when we began the project. So what were the lessons that we learned while we were doing this with the universities? We were able to realize that directly engaging with the universities was very helpful. Being able to sit down with the head of computer science or the IT team in the university moved a whole lot of steps forward. Because when you're sending emails, you're getting instructions and things like that, it usually does not move the needle. But because we're able to have these workshops and these webinars with the experts, they were able to get the changes done, most of them, even before they left the workshops that we held with them. We also felt that faculty planning was very important when making decisions regarding how to include UA readiness into their curriculum, because they are definitely going to teach the subject. So it is important for them to also be on board when we were having the discussions. And we saw that most of the universities that were able to progress faster were able to bring their computer science departments on board, and we had that discussion, and that was really helpful as well. And we saw that the training, when we held it with the ICT directors and faculty together, it really made a lot of changes, because both of them knew what was happening in their university. So they could then deliberate in detail regarding the issues that they were facing and how they were going to be able to address those issues. So those are the 3 lessons that we learned while we engaged on this project. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention.
Mr. Frank, thank you very much. I am sure that